Hi, I'm Kat Fowler,
And I'm Amy Sikarskie.
and welcome to our 6th episode in our series, Conversations with the Council of Light. I'm the host of the Soul Awakening podcast, energy healer and reader, and I'm interviewing Amy, an intuitive channel, the co-founder of Spirit School, and author of the Star-Seeded Ascension series with the books Messages from the Councils and Activating the Starseed. So before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to this channel and turn notifications on if you'd like to receive updates when we release future episodes.
Yes, and if you enjoy our videos, please leave a thumbs up or share, and also we check all of the comments.
And so also we have created an email address for all of the questions. So if you've had previous questions that you've left in the comments, it's on my YouTube, it's on Amy's YouTube, it's on my Instagram, it's on Amy's Instagram. And so there's all these different comments and we're both getting separate emails. So we're just going to put it all in one place. So you can email the Council of Light questions at gmail.com. And even if you've already written a question, if we haven't answered it in the show, then resubmit it to that email. So again, it's the Council of Light questions at gmail.com, and it'll be in both of our show notes below.
Yes, and these are questions that are ones that would help the collective. So ones that would be, really beneficial for this platform.
Yes. All right. Well, so today, I think ideally we'll see how the time goes, and we will try to get through all of the rest of the dimensions. We'll see how it goes.
We're just flowing with things today. So, okay. All right. So I will connect in with the Council of Light. And I was working with him earlier today. Metatron was around, so you might feel his energy as well, a little bit stronger than on our last episode. And then they'll come through and Kat can ask the questions. So, okay. All right. One moment.
All right.
Yes, we are here, and it is a very joyful opportunity for us to be here with you today. Greetings, dear friends. It has taken a little bit of action upon the part of our partners here to bring us through, and we are very delighted to be here, and we are laughing behind the scenes at all of their qualms and the discrepancies that were arising within their physical location. So here we are, and we are very happy. There are many of us here, you see, as you beautiful ladies were taking your time to bring us through. There has been a crowd gathering. So there is more and more energy and frequency with us today than there was in the past. And it is joyful from our perception and from our experience here on the other side of your reality. So we are here and we are ready to converse. And so, dear friends, welcome. And Kata, what questionings might you have for us today?
Thank you for waiting. I could feel the laughter. We had to do about 12 takes to get to where we are because every time I would read, I would just feel the laughter. So I appreciate. Thank you, everyone, for waiting. So I guess I wanted to continue on with the dimensions, and the last episode where we spoke about dimensions was 2 episodes ago, and we were finishing on like the 6th/7th. And so in the 7th, the crystal beings came through. So that's how we talked about the 7th. So I just had a quick question about the 6th dimension before we start. And I've heard of the 6th dimension on a show actually that was discussing from a very Syrian point of view, the dimensions. And they were saying that the 6th dimension is the dimension of the architects. And so I wanted to know what your opinion of that is, meaning that they're the architects of creation and they create realities and whatnot.
Well, that makes a sense from our perception as well. And we do see how and why and where they would see this or bring this awareness to you. So because as you are coming from our perception in the higher frequencies down, it is at the 6th where thought forms begin to take place, and at the 6th where the desires and the intentions begin to unfold or manifest in a collective expression. This is where there would be conversation and workings together or working within oneself, but bringing in the probability and possibility as they present forward a thought. Then the frequencies of creation would begin to hear the thought, and when with intention it would be moved forward, then the frequencies would gather around the thought and commingle and commingle and come together and start to form more of a possibility and more of a physical aspect as it merges down through the different layers of reality. And by this we mean the different dimensions. And so in these spaces there are beings who do find that the sixth dimension gives them a frequency, a boost, and a support in creation and in thought patterning and in bringing through their visualizations or their intentions into a physical form. So as you, from your perception, lift and increase up through the fifth dimension and then into the sixth dimension, there is more access and ease when it comes to manifesting and creating, you see. So here is a space in time where you might put forward thoughts or intentions for creations for the realms that are lower, lesser in light, more we shall say in density. So in your reality, the third, the fourth, and the fifth levels of creation, in these aspects, there are the starting point would be in the sixth dimension. But if you are in the sixth dimension and you would like to create in the higher realms, it would be more of, we say from our perception, we are in the sixth dimension, let's say, and we are having a thought. It would be more that when we have that thought, we find that thought already living in the higher frequencies. But if we are in the sixth dimension and we are saying, we would like to bring that thought down into the lower realms of creation and reality, and then that is when it will begin to take a physical form or structure in the way where mankind would be able to interact and to relate and to see these physical properties. So as time is there and all is in the now, it is about accessing, and from which point of consciousness are you accessing information. So in the sixth level of dimensional frequency, it does allow for more fluid activity in the creation mode, both flowing up or down from that focal point. However, as we were sharing, when you are looking from the sixth level up, it is more an awareness of what is already and what could be, and that you would just bring your consciousness to it, and there it is. And when you are bringing your awareness lower in frequency, there is more, you would call it work. There is more dedication to be made to create that into a new structure of reality and realm of awareness. Does this make a sense for you? We understand our wording is a little, we will say choppy, because we are very much trying to explain these understandings that are not so linear in nature or well known from your platform, you see.
No, it's perfect. It sounds great. Yes. And so I'm wondering, so now with the seventh dimension, I've heard it referred to as seventh heaven. And I know in certain books, they say this is part of the astral realm that people go to when they pass and they're seeing a lot of other loved ones, and it's very joyful, but it's not necessarily a very high frequency. So could you explain more about the seventh dimension and its relation to the astral plane?
Yes, there are many models in your platform that mankind will use, you see. When you begin into the fourth level of dimensional frequencies, when you are experiencing the human form in the auric station, how does that relay into the other astral frequencies, because as we are saying, all is in the now moment, but there is containment and confinement for a purpose and a reason. So the fourth level in the human auric field is the beginnings of flowing into the fourth dimension of the astral realm. You might say, let us rephrase, it is flowing into the astral realm. Many refer to the fourth level as entering into the astral realm. But as you were saying, the seventh level, this propensity for heaven, when we come from the angle of heaven, we are feeling that it is a very low frequency. Heaven is much higher, you see. This might be the bridge where loved ones would come through and greet that return of a loved one who is just now leaving the physical form. But it is not a space where we would say, at least our beingness, our star family, we lift a little bit higher, or we would expect and anticipate that to be flowing up maybe even to the 12th dimension. And this might be where the discrepancy is. If we were to go for those whom, now one moment while we check our resources, we would like to see, so that we are the most accurate, where with the human form, the human spirit, whom has life on earth repetitively over and over again, incarnating in. One moment while we check with Archangel Michael. One moment, please.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the highest levels of attainment is to flow to the seventh heaven, as you say, for the human spirit that is still in the karmic cycle in this incarnation. They may expand up to the 8th, 9th, and 10th, but this would be for those whom are more awake or awoken, as you understand, in their spiritual makeup and aspect of how much light are they holding and the consciousness. And they will be those whom are advancing, and as they continue, would advance outside of the karmic cycle for the human. And as you understand, we are sharing, karma is clearing. However, the human will continue to experience karma until they work up through the different dimensions and different cycles. So what is happening now is karma is releasing from the lower densities so that mankind may move into the 5th dimension. But in that expression, karma, as you understand it, will be a bit different, but there will still be giving and taking and experience had. And in these experiences to be had, they will be continuing through in their advancement up into the higher levels of consciousness. And outside of the human form, the human soul can lift their vibration, can extend up to these higher realms. When you get to the 10th, 11th, and 12th, this is where there are some angelic classrooms that will come in. And this is where a shift or a advancement in their purpose and reasoning for going back to earth would be. You have seen those whom you call an old soul, or perhaps an earth angel, although these are just terms, because the light and the advanced level of beingness and their awareness, their consciousness is notated. And these are just words that were used interchangeably. So they would be the human spirits that are in these higher spaces and stations of reality outside of their physical life. So we are saying it would be best not to limit yourself if you resonate with being dedicated to the earth life, if you resonate with being a human, that you would not limit yourself to only the 7th heaven outside of physical form. There's much beyond that as well. But we would like to say that this is a space where much communication and there is a lot of joy. So joyful reunion takes place. And for some, they may find that their acts upon the earth were still so heavy and embedded within their energy signature that they cannot lift higher until it is cleared. And it, for the most part, is cleared through reincarnating back in. Although, as our partners have shared with you in the past, some activities can be mended, resolved, cleared, and released at the spirit state. Does this assist you in answering this question? Do you have any other questions for the angelic frequencies at this time?
Yes, it does. Because I've heard that when souls pass, and if they're in the astral realm, if they're in the seventh dimension and they stay there too long, it almost forces them to come back if they don't keep ascending. And so that's why I asked that question and about this, like why it's called, quote unquote, seventh heaven. And I'm wondering, because you did say something along the lines of that when people are out, when the spirit is out of the human form, that they can reach these higher states. But wouldn't you say it's very possible to achieve these higher states within the human form, being conscious, like through meditation and things like that, to reach past the 12th in deep states of meditation or healing sessions and things like that?
Yes, the realms can be peeked into and addressed in a way where they are becoming aware, and it is a gentle introduction, but to maintain the frequency, it would be like looking up and seeing those realms or seeing those lights versus actually being at the vibration of them in all of your beingness, where you can maintain resonating frequencies and staying in that space. Humans have an awareness of it, but it's very limited in just we are sharing by experience. There have not been many in the human body who have been able to transcend the duality on earth to maintain a frequency where they can consistently resonate in the 10th dimension. You may say there are some sects, some Buddhists or monks whom have, we are using these expressions, confined themselves or exiled themselves. It sounds harsh, but this is the reality. They have separated themselves from human life, and they have found a space where they are separate from the experience, full experience as the human, based upon the society interactions, the family and friends interactions, and these other day-to-day experiences of the human. When they have gone in complete seclusion, they are then in a process of transcending the human physical form. They've already left the human societal nature and interactions and expressions. It can be done, and some have chosen to do so, but it is not the common. It would be very interesting for us to see it be achieved whilst living in the third or fourth densities. So after you are ascending to the fifth dimension, there is more possibility and more awareness. However, for the most, to maintain a frequency, it must be in spirit form based upon the dynamics and the energetic signature of the human's physical and energetic bodies.
Thank you. You read my mind when I was thinking of the people that have crossed that barrier. And so my question for you, there's two questions regarding the soul, like the actual soul and the soul spark. And so I've heard that most human souls that come to Earth, I call them human souls, but most souls that come to Earth and incarnate physically have came from at least a seventh dimensional frequency, typically not lower. That's their origin. And I wanted to know if that was true. And then also, what would you say is about the amalgam or the percentage of souls as to what frequency they are before they came into Earth, where they came from? Like, are the majority of Earthlings all seventh dimensional souls, or is it some are much higher, some are lower? So I was wondering that.
Very good indeed. So here in the seventh level of creation, there is a lot of activity, and there are a lot of souls coming to Earth from this space and station. We would concur, we would agree that it is there is never just a blank statement to be made, one size fits all. But from the grand vision of where we are viewing, we see that most souls, the seventh level would be the lowest frequency for those whom would come in a physical body as a true human. You have entities that would come in and possess a body, take over a body, or integrate with a body that are not from the seventh level. They would be from other areas of creation that we will not discuss in this topic at this time. But for the pure human soul, the seventh would be appropriate to say if you are looking for facts and linear understandings and a basis, a model from which to experience from. Now, there are many on the earth plane at this time that are higher than that, even for the humans you see. And there are those whom have advanced to the 12th level of the human form that are coming in. And there are the star beings who exist outside of the 16th structure around Earth and the human reality. And there are the archangels coming in as well. So at this moment in time, it is evolving, because you are in the year 2020 and there's a lot of transition. But in this exact moment in time, we will say from our perspective, it's fluctuating from the 20 to 25% of those in a human body would be coming in from the 7th through the 8th level of creation.
Okay. And I'm wondering, because I know sometimes from ET perspectives, like I've seen on different shows and different interviews, that there's almost a looking down upon human, life. But I do believe that coming into a human form, even if people stay in the third dimensional frequency, is an extremely courageous act. And what I've heard through a lot of yoga philosophy, and I'd like to hear what you guys see on this, is that through the human form is where you can evolve your consciousness, your soul frequency quite rapidly and much to a higher dimension. And so I'm wondering, with the previous question, like let's just say somebody comes in and they're from the 7th dimension, their soul is from the 7th dimension, yet they achieve in this life great spiritual progress and evolution through their life plan, through meditation, through all these things, through purification processes. And then they've reached and maintained, let's say, a state like the 10th. Does that raise their soul frequency then to that higher level permanently when they pass and they go back into spirit form?
So if they reach the 10th dimension through meditation in the human body?
I mean, just through consistent effort and constant practice throughout their life, if they've consistently reached higher states of dimensional frequencies in their life, would that transform and raise the frequency of their actual soul upon leaving the body?
It could. However, we do not typically see a grand jump from one lifetime where the spirit prior to incarnation would be at the 7th or 8th, and then after would instantaneously be at the 10th dimension. It could be you may need a bit more time, but as we have spoken of in the past, time is very malleable. The time is pliable. It is able to be stretched, and so it is more about intensity. And it could be, if it was such a stronger contrast, then the intensity could push the spirit to that level of attainment. It does not happen often, but it could be. And it is up to the spark of creation, each soul, their desire and choice. We see some may choose to do this because it is part of their nature to overachieve and to succeed in these ways. But they would be missing out on a lot of experiences, on the transitionary expressions that are to be had and felt in the other dimensional planes of awareness.
I see. Okay, then I'm wondering, and I had this thought. So if we all came from source, if everything comes from source, and in that, I'm assuming 33rd dimension, if you could confirm that, in that space of being in source consciousness where it's all love, it's all unity, how does an individual soul spark decide from that frequency that it wants to separate? And is it God itself or himself or herself deciding that, choosing to experience itself, and then that creates the separation and the individuation? Or is it the actual soul? Like, how does that come to be coming from source? Where does that original separation occur of the soul spark?
This is a very detailed question, you see. We are laughing a bit because we are showing our partner, as you are speaking, we are showing her behind the scenes what is happening, and she's taking it all in. So how do we share? How do we bring it out of visualization and into expression of words? There is always a blending. Even at this moment now, you have a spark of the divine creator within your beingness, within you. You are all an aspect and a part at every moment of time, a part of the light. But as one soul expands further and further away, we will go to the 33rd dimension, as you were expressing. Beginning at the 33rd dimension, if it were in this model, stepping further and further away, or floating and releasing and exploring through curiosity and just beingness, floating. As you progress further from, there becomes more individuality, more thought, more movement, more expression. Although in these higher realities, it is not thought. We say thought because you understand what that would be, but it is just happening with the conscious awareness of the soul, and the soul is discovering more of what it feels like to be separate from the full creator's light enveloping them in that frequency. And the soul is experiencing this contrast, and as it continues further and further away, it experiences more of a contrast. And then as it gets closer into the other dimensions, it may choose to go in or stay. So this is how the energies separate. They are aware, but it is like a child, as an infant, being cuddled and held tightly by the mother and then gently released through the life as it grows. It's a gradual process. And children identify with the frequency of the parent until their consciousness becomes more awakened and aware to that they are their own individual spark of light. And this is what happens. So we will say that awareness is afforded throughout the entire process. But from the 27th to the 22nd dimension is where more and more awareness of self, if you will call it self, comes into being. And then from there, the spirit may decide or navigate. It is never really much of a question. It is a feeling and a vibration of what they feel they resonate most with. And they will flow to that dimensional realm of creation. And they will have a life and a reality outside of your understanding, outside of the human awareness. And then over time, they may decide to come into the life of a human. But depending upon the trajectory and the path of each individual soul, there may be some preparations to be had at different levels. There is always a preparation to be had, but at a different level as they come into the human form or experience life in another station outside of planet Earth. Did we address all aspects of your question?
Yes, I'm wondering, so I've heard with the soul, so it goes source, then monad, which is a huge group, then higher self, it splits into higher self, then higher self into individual souls. And that's like what I've heard the hierarchy is like. And I guess so my first question really is, why? Like, why would the monad want to split originally from, and I guess I know it's to experience contrast, but I'm just, if it's all God, if it's all one unified consciousness, then at what point does it become separate? And then also I just wanted to know if that is the hierarchy. And I know in human form, we have life reviews before we come in with our soul into a body. And so I'm wondering, you were saying there's levels of preparation. Are there like councils on every level, going from monad to higher self, to guide those beings, the really higher, much higher frequency beings, into their decisions as well?
Hello. We have shifted again while you were speaking, so it is more of the council that is here, and Michael has stepped away. Yes, there are different levels of expression, and within each level of expression, you will find that there is a community to assist with guidance, but it is not so serious and very astutely structured, that you must have permission and have a life review and have a life review. We are saying before you come into the life, have a review of the life that is to come, and make all these preparations at every level of creation. It is very much a floating, interacting. As you look at nature and you see how the bees hum together and they all work in a hive together, and it's very natural. Or do you see how the ants work together, or how the pollen floats across the sky? It is all very natural, being in their own state of awareness, floating through. And with a little bit of shift in consciousness, they can direct that awareness closer and closer to the human earth, if this is their if this is the end point, if it is a trajectory, or they may find themselves somewhere else, you see. So there are different levels of realities, and it is based upon curiosity and expansion and expression, to be floating aimlessly, some may call it, or floating and just being in a particular vibration for eternity could get a little bit boring, you see. So it is for experience and for expression and for coming together in a new way, because there is all this beautiful unity of spirit the higher you go. And on earth, mankind has experienced a little bit of that in their moments where their hearts expand and communities come together. So so there was something you were asking us about the model and the stepping with the monad and the different levels. Can you please say one more time, because we apologize, we were switching back into the body and focused upon a little of that while you were asking the question.
Yes, I was just asking, is that true? Goes monad, higher self, and then soul, sparks, coming from source.
Oh, you could say that. That is a very good way, and it is a very good model that has been on your earth plane for quite some time. So yes, from a human perspective, looking at it with a linear way, wanting to see definition around these stages, absolutely. From our experience, it's more of a consistent transition and a flow. And so there are all the spaces in between, you see. But yes, it is a separation, and then more of a coming together and a uniting and coming back into the light, you see. So this is with physical properties. Well, it's energy, but you understand if we were to say physical, in that it's contained and you can see it. There is a aspect here of the soul vibration. But through telepathic, which is a way you might understand, there's always another form of communication where the spirit can stay with their light in a dimension and converse telepathically or through a heart space. Is a conversation and a connection with higher levels of creation, but they are still resonating in this frequency that they are choosing to resonate in. So we are using terms that humans would understand: physicality and telecommunication, but is energetic. So the energy body of the soul, the energy can be in a particular frequency and still communicate with other beings and conscious levels of awareness in other dimensions. So we are hoping we are not confusing too much, but this is deeper questionings which you ask, and it is very joyful for us to hear these questionings, because there are many who are having the similar thoughts coming through and would like to know a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more based upon intelligence and communication and curiosity, you see. So the advancements in all of these areas and the advancements of mankind are bringing about new levels of awareness, and with new levels of awareness become more questionings that are deeper or more intricate in nature. So thank you very much for the questions. And does this make a sense? Is there any other areas with this topic you would like us to clarify?
Yes, and I also was wondering if it was possible to speak to Archangel Michael again, because I have 3 questions that came in that I would love the angelic, like, direct answer from, that I think people are wondering about.
Yes, indeed. We will open up to the angelic frequencies and see whom comes in. That is what happened last time. We just opened up and, oh, that was Michael. So, as it were. So, one moment, please. One moment, please. Yes, we are here. Hello.
Hi, can I ask who this is?
It's a collection of angel frequencies. Archangel Metatron and Michael's frequencies are here. It's a collection of energies in the angelic realms of creation.
Okay, thank you. So I'm wondering if you guys can answer this directly for people. A lot of people believe sometimes that angels are supposed to just come in and fix everything. And if they got into something like accident or something happened, and they say, "Where was my angel? Why did this happen?" And so I would love if you could address that directly to people watching that sometimes are wondering why they feel, something didn't go right, or in a situation, and they're wondering why they believe you didn't answer them.
Indeed. Did they call us? And which archangel or principality or guardian angel did they call upon? All levels of creation have different and very unique expressions of truth, of their light, and of their purpose. So there are many frequencies of angelic beings who all have their own awareness in certain avenues and spaces and have their own particular purpose. So did they call us? Whom did they call upon? We are not all in a space to invade free will and come when we see there is a necessity based upon the rules that govern your lands and this planetary body. There are some who have been afforded this ability. Archangel Metatron and Michael have more, how should we say? They are allowed more freedom when it comes to intercepting and coming into earth life expression. Additionally, there are other archangels who are closer to earth at this time, that because they have been spoken with and called upon frequently, are more present in the earth reality. Is the presence of an archangel for humankind, for community and global, or is it for individual? And we say it is for both. But where is that awareness being placed? And it is being placed in many aspects and avenues. So it would be upon that being to call for an archangel or that guardian angel. But you see, the guardian angels are very much in connection prior to this encounter happening. And it was that perhaps they could not get through, that the human did not hear, based upon the frequency of their auric field. Are they in fear? Are they stressed? Are they holding vibrations of grief, guilt, or shame? The more pure your field is, the more succinct your connection with your team and spirit. The more purified your field is, the easier for us to come in and speak with you. We are always there watching. Your guardian angel is always there watching. But can they make a connection? And it is up to the human to be open to this experience, both by conscious desire, and also by action and intention. So you must understand that for some it is very natural, and others it will take a bit more of experience and a bit more of expression and a bit more of trying, as you would call it, working through what they need to work through to have a consistent communication with their team. Even this being here, this physical body and this partner is not always in communication with her team at a very conscious level. You see, you are here to have the life of a human, and it will be up to you as to how you interact. But many will feel through their gut instinct and their heart receptor, their intuition will share with them prior if it is the right choice, as far as does it line up with their frequency, does it line up with their life path to be in that moment or to make that a decision. Some, it is a decision from the oversoul that this expression of contrast would interfere with their day-to-day expression of reality. For some, it is an expression of the oversoul that they would come upon a harshness, or you may say interaction with another human, or an accident, or some sort of these things. For some, they expressed prior to coming in that they would take a great responsibility upon themselves, be in a place where they are heroic, stepping into the line, the fire, the danger, you see, stepping into the line of danger, going into the dark spaces, you see, going into those heavier places and those interactions. And for those, they may take a moment and rewrite their history. We're calling it history, because although it has not happened in their reality, it was already written before they came in that this would be that exit point. But in that moment, they may pause time, which you have heard this, the flashing of my life, many have said, upon the death. And in these moments, they may travel very quickly and effectively and have a conversation with their team and spirit and see if it is possible, or in connection with their higher self, if it is actually the desired outcome from a higher soul space. And some will rewrite their history and rewrite the trajectory and come back, or not to be affected, and will stay out of harm's way, out of danger. But we are here for those whom are working with us, calling upon us and working with us, and we are here for the collective. So there are many reasons why perhaps it was not appropriate for your higher self's choice and desire that we intercede. Perhaps we did intercede, but you still had the experience. Perhaps we are there with you, comforting through the experience, soothing the soul, speaking to the higher aspects that are outside of the body, explaining what is happening. So there are all different levels of misfortune, and there are all different levels and reasonings for this misfortune. And yes, we will acknowledge that some accidents are simply that, accidents that were not a part of the plan at all. So in these moments, this is when the spirit guide, the Archangel or the guardian angels would have more leeway in interceding and interception. So it is not a one-size-fits-all, as the Council of Light has relayed, but we do share and hope that this gives an understanding from the angelic realm. When we hear a call, we will be there, but we are also in connection with the higher self, and we must be aware and alert and in communication with all the different facets, and we must not overstep our boundaries. For if we were to overstep a boundary and halt an experience that would have been for the betterment of the soul at a soul level, that would be unjust and untrue. So we do take it upon ourselves to be very, very aware of what is allowed, what is afforded, and what is appropriate when it comes to us stepping into minute moments of individual expression. We have more flexibility, if you would call it, when it comes to working holistically with human consciousness and mankind on earth. And when that happens, there will be some intricacies which we will find that we do have permission to narrow in on if those adjustments are for support of the whole and the cause in which we are helping humanity with at this time. Does that make sense to you?
Thank you. That was an amazing answer. So I guess I'm wondering, because there's a lot of star beings that watch this show, and does every being have an angel guide, a guide from the angelic realm, even if they're from more of a star lineage?
They are given that opportunity, and it is up to them to take it or not. There are many angels, and if they would like an angel to assist them through the human experience, they can have an angel who has been dedicated to life on earth and the human experience. If they feel more comfortable with their star beings, they may take them on as counsel and as guides. And there may also be a blending, and there may also be ebbing and flowing, where at some periods in life it is more about the angels, and later on or earlier on it was more about connection with their star family. It's made afforded to all. It is a birthright for those whom come in as a human that they might have an angel with them.
And if someone's watching and they're realizing, oh, I don't think I've ever connected with my angel guide, or a being that could be my angel guide as opposed to the archangels, how could they make a connection with them?
Through prayer, meditation, conscious conversation, speaking out loud, invite them in more and more. But we are saying invite in the true angel. And until you are feeling love and in a higher frequency, do not open up to astral energies, because you may be fooled thinking that an astral energy is your angel when it is not. You will know by the love that you feel in your heart if it is a true angel of the light.
Yes. And I'm wondering, lastly, if from the angelic realm, you guys have any messages or anything you'd like to say, particularly to the people that will be watching this video.
We are here with you always. You may feel forsaken, lost, afraid, and alone. You may feel the dark night of the soul, but these are figments of imagination through time. They are real in a moment. They are not the truth everlasting. We are always there with you, even through these blinks of eyes like this. It's very quickly from our perception, but for you, it might feel very, very long, intense, heavy, and drawn out, you see. But we are here with you, and we hear the collective calls. We are shifting and helping with the shift on earth. As you understand, you are all being guided by your own inner light. Your families, your soul communities are assisting, and all are coming together more and more as a collective in the ethers, commingling your energies and your intentions and your expressions. And the angelic realm is hearing your call, and it is opening up doors of possibilities for us to step in and assist where we have been closed off before. So continue connecting in with us in every way, individually and through community. And this is our message. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. 1 second. Yes, we are here. Thank you for the opportunity. It's a lot of energy when the archangels come in. Our partner has to work with them to slow the roll and regulate down the frequencies for the physical body to hold their light. they are still releasing a little bit more and more, but we are here. So thank you for these beautiful questionings. What a joy to bring through other expressions of truth and creation into our conversation today. Thank you very much for your request. We are curious and we are delighted to be here. So do share with us what other thoughts you have for us today.
Yes. So I was wondering regarding what we were talking about prior to the archangels coming in about the soul frequency. And we were talking a little bit about how the majority is around the seventh, and there's much higher frequencies of souls that are also here on earth. And I'm wondering about soul groups. And so I've heard that soul groups and soul families, they're all around the same frequency. Is that true?
Yes, but they also have the opportunity to separate from that frequency and experience other expressions of vibration from time to time. But for the most part, it is true, because as a community, as a collective, as a family, they typically do share in similar experiences. And as a collective group, they are ascending or descending. Haha, that's what has happened now. Coming back into earth, you see, descending in their vibrational station to be together in a frequency.
And so, with these soul groups, are they all from different higher selves? Are they all from the same higher self? Are they from different monads? Where does that group end up coming together? At what level does this start to happen?
It is past the monad level. So
Mm.
it is, if you are saying, coming from the source creator down,
Mm-hmm.
around, it is for many solidified around the 18th dimension. By then your frequency will pull you, or you will be pulled to a space with resonating vibrations. And around the 22nd is when there's more awareness of individuality. It's just a blending and a shifting down to finding lights that are very much like yours, and starting here and then flowing into expressions of consciousness and realities in every way, sideways, down, up, and these sorts of ways. You will understand when we share the visualization of direction, which is a description of the frequency.
And so, just like on Earth, families, they're not always staying together. Sometimes one releases, sometimes they split. Does this also happen on a soul level with soul families?
Not often, because they're moving through together. So as the collective is ready to try some other frequency or expand or decrease in vibration, it is generally speaking, they will come together. It can be, as we say, there is always an anomaly. However, most often we have not seen this so much.
And would you say that it's always the case? And I know as I'm asking this, nothing is always the case, but that the family members that you came in with, like your physical first, like your blood family, that they're always part of your soul group. Would you say that's the case?
No, most often they are not part of your soul group.
Interesting. Okay. So what would they be? Just karmic souls that you'd like to work out karma with? Are they souls that you do have a love for, but they're not part of your family?
Mm-hmm. Some are beings that you have met in another life. There could be karma to be reached, worked out, as you call it. But it could be also friendships or understandings as you are in your home and you go out into your communities and you go out and you commingle in your churches or your business practices or your schools. You meet many and you find friendships and you play roles for one another in this reality. It is similar. You would come back in and play different roles, but you will have met them in other lifetimes or in lives between lives, friendships. But it is not very common that the soul family would all come into the physical family, it would be a bit boring. There would not be much expression of contrast, and there would not be that much to work through. You see, it would be too easy. We are saying too easy.
Yes. And so what about in the case of partnerships, like love partnerships, like marriage and things like that? Would you say that
That
those,
can be.
yeah.
Mhm. For those who feel a strong truth and a strong vibrational connection, and then it very well could be, of course, not for all, but yes. But then the children may be coming from different places, from a soul space. And there are some where they are all from the same soul community.
Mhm.
There are some, but not many. Our partner knows of some who are from the same families, but not all, because as we mentioned, it would be a bit boring.
Mhm.
But there are some, if they are coming in to finish some karmic clearing, especially, so that they can be released from the earth life experience if they so choose. So again, as you were saying, it's not one always, but there are different opportunities, and so you will understand this when you are looking at families, and some really flow quite well together, but there are maybe a couple of family members that definitely stick out, you know. So, and we are sharing this from the experiences that we have experienced. So not so much as those humans that are more human in nature, not having lifetimes yet outside of the earth experience.
Mhm. And so, yeah, so I guess I'm wondering, especially with the human family, the direct family. So we're all from, for the most part, different soul groups. Does that also mean that we're all from very different vibrational frequencies in dimension and in level of soul advancement?
It would be as if there is a frequency that is that of a community, and then within that community is the soul family. And the soul family would have a little bit more uniqueness, a little bit more flavor or vibration that is standing out from the rest, specialties or interests or experiences together. But they are the same vibrational frequency of the community, you see. If you were to speak about the Pleiades and the Pleiadians, you understand that they all have a similar vibrational frequency. But the soul pod families within the Palladian community will have more of an individualistic expression. So they are, the frequency that they are sharing would be that of the family, their soul, their unique vibration, also with the qualities and vibrational traits of the Palladian community, you see, galaxy. And this way it just continues getting bigger and bigger. So does this make a sense?
Yes, I'm wondering, I guess I asked that question because I think a lot of people watching this, are the black sheeps in their families and
Yeah.
whatnot. And so it's like, I think it will be helpful for people to understand that maybe they did incarnate with souls that are coming from a different frequency in a different dimensional space, and not because there's some options where you're the one kind of teaching your family, and then there's other options where you have to separate because they're going in one direction and you're going in another. And so I think can you explain that, if that is true, that we do incarnate with beings that are from different frequencies, and then why would that be?
Yes, it is true, because you're commingling here. Earth is an experiment, you see. It's a great experiment and a great opportunity to have contrasts and different flavors and vibrations and different experiences. But that could be what you have shared is accurate. But additionally, you may find that there is somebody within your family whom is from your soul pod, whom is from your soul family, or from your same frequency of star beings or the realm which you come from. However, they are playing a particular role where they have chosen not to wake up, and
Mhm.
they are playing more of a human role where they are more stuck with society, or aligning more with the human aspect, which is okay. And perhaps we shall not say human, we will just say a lower frequency, being asleep, because many humans are high frequency, high awake. There is no hierarchy here. There is no one is better than the other. They are experiences and points of expression. And any being can go into an experience or a point of an expression playing a particular role. So one must be very cautious that it cannot be any judgment, because there is a lot happening behind the scenes, and there is a lot of shadow play, we call it, where one will pretend to be something they are not, to assist and to come in for a particular reason. And we believe you understand, based upon your studies with the life between lives and the reincarnation cycles, how and why this might be. So it is no different for realms to have beings coming in, playing a particular role to help act as a catalyst for another member of their family or friend to awaken to the light of who they are. There must be, for many, a force of nature, a catalyst, a contrast, a strong push that will propel them into remembering who they are and claiming their light here on the earth plane.
Yes. I know a lot about that also just from experience. So yes. I'm wondering also with soul groups, and actually let's take it outside of a soul group, but just in the individual level. So between lives, even if we have reincarnation cycles, I know this also from experience that we spend time elsewhere between lives, occasionally if we choose different planets, different spaces, depending on what's needed. Can you speak to that a little bit about maybe the linear aspect of what that's like? Instead of, it's not like we just pop out, we take a second, do a review and pop back in. We can do things when we're in between these life cycles.
Yes. Indeed, there is more life outside of this life of a human. You see, there is more. Unlimited here, which is, you may say, so wild to even understand, because there is more expression every day on the planet, more and more opportunities, but you are more limited in a body. So there is a lot of activity outside of the body in spirit state. There is much advancement in communication with community and projects and traveling and leisure, anything you could dream of. But sometimes when there becomes anything you can dream of, it becomes boring, because mankind understands a challenge, and so does the soul. We like to be pushed. We like to expand. We like to have contrast and experience and wisdom. Many of you will be saying this contrast is too much and you are not happy with your current state of reality. And we understand that it is very intense upon your planet in this moment of time. So we are acknowledging that, and you might ask for a relief. And we are saying to breathe and go into some meditation. You may leave the body a little bit, and experience peace and joy and love, and then bring that vibration back in with you. Bring in the light, and now be that frequency of peace and joy and love here in the physical plane. You are bringing in, you are a way shower, and you are a bridge. You are bringing in and bridging the dimensional frequencies. Use that to your advantage. Continue bringing the light back in with you from your meditations to assist not only yourself, but those in your physical vicinity and Earth as a whole, you see. But there are many experiences outside of human form. Endless possibilities, more so than what you could imagine or experience as a human in one lifetime.
And I guess the reason I asked was just to confirm that we would do this for learning, because we bring back the wisdom.
Indeed.
Yeah, in our DNA and in our cells and in our soul when we incarnate, even if we were somewhere else in between.
Yes, in the life between this life, there is a lot of wisdom that is acquired. And when you go into meditation, or very naturally, it will come through as a gift or information. And so this is when we say the truth of who you are. Who are you? You are not this tiny aspect of your knowingness. You are more than this. You have much wisdom, many qualities and gifts, and endless possibilities and probabilities to access information outside of what your physical form has in this body's lifetime has experienced. And we say that because you bring in the quantum within the DNA, which merges with the physical body. So then the physical body, actually, there is a bypass where it would have access to much more information than if another spirit took the physical body rather than you. The physical body would have another history, you see. So it is more than just the physical flesh. There is a quantum intelligence here, and there is a spirit. So, but it all makes up the experience, and it is all a part of your light, truth, wisdom, and nature that is accessible to you, you see.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, with the DNA, and I'll just ask one quick question on it. How do people start activating those etheric strands of DNA? Or if they already are, how do they know that they are being activated?
Oh, well, you will know that they are activated because you will be more in tune and more in alignment and connected with your intuition and your heart's intention. Your clair-gifts will strengthen, and you will start to feel that you want to do something better and beyond your status quo. And so if you're already in alignment, you may feel good and you will know that you are there. But if you are just starting to awaken, there is for many there will be a shift in consciousness, and then that will put a shift into the relationships and even into the work-life experience, where things will change completely. And how does this happen? It happens very naturally with the assistance of the grand central sun, the frequencies that are on earth at this time, with it being a correct moment of time based upon what the soul chose prior to coming into the body, and the alignment with their higher self and team and spirit. So it will also have much to do with the physical body. If the body is rested, it will be done easier for this ascension process in the physical way, the physical form, if the body is rested and eating appropriately. So there is it's a holistic approach, and there are many aspects that are coming into this this experience, we'll call it. It's a very large and broad experience, but yes, indeed.
I have to ask, we may take this out. So, and I don't want this to get too dark, but essentially, like, there is this big war on consciousness. It's not necessarily on, just population control and the way that people see it in a third dimensional way. It's on consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd really love some clarification from you guys on the role of and how they are potentially damaging to the DNA structure and the human's ability to really tap into their spiritual frequencies, if that's true or not.
It is true of many things. In a broad way, they create disruptions within the DNA. They are introducing fetal cells, fetal tissues from other beings into the body, which is a scientific expression. This is not a spiritual this is not a spiritual opinion. It's scientifically based. They are introducing substances that can be harmful to many, especially in the quantities and the quality. But back to the quantity, how much is going into the new human body? It's the small child, the infant. For many, it is too much. And many of the children that are coming in are very pure in spirit, very, very, very pure energetically. And they have selected and molded and worked for a pure body, which these discrepancies would have dire consequences. Many of the advanced human bodies, these prototypes that are coming in now, being born based upon the work of the parents, are more sensitive. And these are harmful in every way. So aside from the theories on the efficacy of and the theory of how it works, which we do not agree with, which we will just say, There are substances that can be harmful for the body. And aside from that, injecting anything directly into the body past the barriers of the blood barriers. So you have your tissue. When you ingest something through the mouth, it goes through many checkpoints, we shall say. And then it is going through the aesthetic aspect of the digestive tract and the bile to clear and burn off any harmful products or byproducts. When you inhale something, it also goes through the tissues and through the nasal passages and the hair in the nasal passages to protect. These are natural protections. Mankind does not acquire disease directly in through the body with an injection. This is not how it is happening. So when you introduce a foreign substance directly in through the tissue, you have bypassed nature's abilities to protect itself. But this is the purpose of the, because they want to create a replication so that the body can fight it off. We understand, but this is not a natural immunity. Natural immunity is very much for the life, and you understand the vaccines wear off for the most part. And there are always new strands and strains of this and that disease and of consciousness. We see it as consciousness from our reality. So as they are ingesting, or we are saying injecting within the body, then the body must fight off these frequencies. And it can be done, but even adults get sick. And it can be done and it can be obtained. But when you pile and you mix the different properties, the different together, scientifically it does not make a sense. The body is in a susceptible state, just as the guidance has been not to take a vaccine if you are not feeling well. Well, if you are feeling well, does that mean you can take upon yourself, particularly an infant child under the age of 18 months old, can take upon themselves in one sitting multiple injections of different frequencies, of different viruses, strains of consciousness at the same time? And how do the substances that are holding these viruses mix with each other and intermingle? It becomes too much for the system for many. So there is damage that can be done. And while we understand that many would agree or concur or believe that there is no damage and that it is for the betterment of the individual and all, they are not being truthful with themselves if they feel that there is no damage possible. So as far as consciousness, any body type that is taking its resources to fight off an illness will be lower in their awareness to fight or maintain a healthy state of consciousness. And we will address, we do feel that you are asking, is there something in the that is directly trying to alter the human consciousness? And we are saying this is being something that is being developed, that is being thought about. And what a great, great way of getting this into the human body, because so many are on board with. So it is like a Trojan horse saying they are doing so good and here is a gift for you, but we are sneaking this in and mankind will not know for the most part. So this is very real on your planet. Is it happening now? Perhaps in small stages and dosages, but mankind is waking up. So wait and see. And those who know, and they will not they will not call for it. They will not sit by and let themselves be injected with these toxins and these vile byproducts, you see.
I'm very glad that you answered that. Yes. And I love that you brought up the aspect of the fact that people already know, but there is an aspect of denial. And I think the aspect of denial comes from having to take authority back within their own healing process and away from systems and structures that they've given their power away to for many years. So, yes. And
Yes.
yes.
Yes. And to not be spoon-fed, we shall say. Many are searching. You are smart and intelligent creatures. You are very intelligent beings. Many are searching for the truth, and you will feel the truth in your heart, you see. Is the truth that it is done in love? Perhaps one who might not know, might administer a feeling that they are doing the right thing. It is not maliciously done. But those who know and whom have created it understand that there are studies that have been wiped clean. There is much corruption. There is much money in the medical system, in many other avenues as well. So things will be reworked. They must be reworked for the new human form to continue and advance. These injections would be too damaging to the new human form. And perhaps this is where you are coming in and saying, is this being done on purpose to harm? And at some level it is, you see. But not always. The one whom is injecting, it is not that they are an evil person, but they have been trained to believe a certain way. If this makes sense.
Indoctrinated, yes.
Yes, that you are.
Yeah. Yes, and I guess I ask because in the sense of what you were saying with these bodies that come in that are well equipped, and then they become, we call it, and there's a huge denial from the public that there is a link. And this is also something that I'm not sure how much I can say or what I will say, and so I'm just going to leave it at that. But I do, that's where I was asking, because I don't believe that unless it was part of their life plan to come in and then have something like that happen. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, we will say for some that was part of their life plan to bring awareness to the situation, and for the others that was not, and is a broad spectrum. It is a term that is a label that is placed for many discrepancies. It is a term that is labeled for damage to many different functioning aspects of the human form. True, without the injection of a harmful byproduct or the ingestion of a harmful byproduct, those who have a natural in these ways do have qualities and characteristics about their physical form that they were born with. And then additionally, some who might have this and then had a toxic substance introduced were not able to detox from it, and it would make it hard to function and to relate in this body that is not at its optimal level. But then there is some terms being called, which in all truth is a damage to the physical body from a foreign substance. And not all beings were born this way, but they may have been born with a susceptibility where some are stronger and able to fight off. But it is not even so much fighting off these particular strains of consciousness, these particular, we call these viruses, because each individual batch may have been treated differently. Each individual batch may have been kept in a different non-controlled environment. So there is very much room for error, human error, and discrepancies. So this is why we are saying you must follow your heart. And there are many who would question if the loved ones in their lives and why and how it happened. And we are saying just to follow your heart, because as we mentioned before, some was very natural and some happened for a purpose and a reason, and some maybe not so much. But those who have searched and who have looked as far as the detoxing, there are many aspects on your plane right now that are helping, many therapies that are helping the child regain their full consciousness and their full rights and autonomy, and others may be struggling a little bit more and a little bit more, you see.
Well, thank you for addressing all of that. I think, you know, as an interviewer and with the show, there's some topics that I know have so much charge to them. And that's why I stay away from asking. But then, in relation to some of the topics, I do think some of these things do need to come to light. And that's why I bring up these subjects.
Additionally, yes, indeed. And if you are feeling, if anyone is feeling a charge around it, a charge is just an opportunity to look within, because their belief system is being challenged, you see. And that is a part of the learning and the growth. And it would be for them to find their truth. We are not forcing our truth on any. We are sharing from our understanding what is happening. We are providing information, and there are resources to look into this more and more from multiple angles. So as any experience that is happening, an open mind is important, and open angles. And that's why we have said some are doing this with great care out of love, but not all are receiving it in a way that is healthy. In fact, we could say none of it is healthy, because as we mentioned, to go past the barrier and inject something in the body is not natural, you see. But anyways, we will continue with the next question. We are just saying, just to feel what is your truth, and to continue forward from that, because there are many contrasting timelines. There are many opportunities to come into your truth and to sit with what you feel is right in your heart and your mind. So we will leave it at that, indeed.
Yes, yes. And I think with this topic, the thing that I loved your answer about sitting with your heart, because a lot of people will say, well, the study says this study says that. And I think it's important to understand who is funding the studies and what studies are not being published because they don't have funding. And so, yes, it's really a matter of the heart and listening to where it feels true for you or not. So yeah, thank you.
Yes. And look at the history. How many children have been damaged and paralyzed in this studying of in these third world countries is happening? How much collateral of human life must happen for mankind to wake up? But you see, it has been hidden. Not everyone knows about what is happening behind these scenes. So
Yes. And I guess my other question regarding substances and substances passing the blood-brain barrier, and can you please speak to ayahuasca and DMT and weed, marijuana, and these substances and these hallucinogenics? And sometimes I think there's a lot of people, this is also a topic that has some charge, that believe this is a spiritual way of connecting with their soul, and maybe it is. I wouldn't know. So I would love to know your opinion on this.
well, it changes the conscious connection. So some do have access to the higher realms of awareness. It would not be the full scale of things. If you were to do it naturally, it would be as if you are viewing versus being fully there. And again, we cannot say across the board 100%. But these different substances do have the capability, and this is why they are ingested, is to change conscious awareness. And it also opens up opportunities for other beings to come into their consciousness. Is it a low vibrational being, or is it a high vibrational being? And there can be many healings happening if a high vibrational being is allowed access to come in and assist and clear away and bring light and bring health. This is energetically speaking. but there are some who become very distorted, disoriented, and as you would say, possessed at a level or another because they had a bad trip, and this consciousness is now within their system, this lower vibrational being. So there is that to consider. There's also the aspect to consider of how does a physical body benefit or interact with different substances. And if you are to do something that is more natural, it will be more to the benefit of the human, just as a drinking or a smoking can be done casually in past times in ways that are, we call it appropriate, meaning that there are ways that are safer than others. It can be done, and it can be used in ceremony as well, and it can be used as medicine to help calm the mind, body, spirit, and soul. But it is also where you must know what are you putting into your body, and where is it being sourced from? What was the conscious intention and the consciousness of the space around where it was created? Harsher substances have a direct effect that are more immediate and more intense, and they can do more long-lasting damage on the physical body, but then also if they are done in the right space can produce a very intense positive outcome. So anything and any time you are, if it's in a substance that you are not addicted to, it will be up to your discretion. And our partner has recently even been in a conversation about this with another where this came through. So it is up to the individual. It is up to their individual understanding. But it is a bypass for many if they feel that, oh, I've reached this level of bliss, therefore I've cleared all my karma and I'm free. It is not the case, you see. So that is because you reach a higher frequency for a moment does not mean, as we spoke about earlier, that you are now an ascended being and all of your frequency is vibrating at that space continuously. So that is where some of it happens. But for others, their first experience of reaching spirit and higher consciousness may have come through ingesting or participating in these substances. And then in that case, it can be a catalyst to their spiritual understanding and spiritual awareness. But we do say with all things that balance is appropriate. And if you are to have to lean on something as a crutch to reach your spiritual attainment, then you do have some more work to naturally be there. And so there are different levels of awareness, different purposes, different meanings behind spiritual attainment. Is it a vibration that you are in, or is it being able to access higher channels of consciousness and communicate with them? Is it just holding the love and the beauty in your heart, or is it something more? So there are very, very beautiful frequencies and moments of time that are afforded based upon working with the earth and working with her substances and working with the medicine and the nature. And we are not to judge or say anything about working with the marijuana, but we are to say that it must be done in a way that is irreverent and where you can still stay the course with your life path and mission. It is an additive to your life. It should not become the entirety and the focal of your life, but an additive, you see. Does this make a sense?
Yes, I was wondering if you could just clarify what you were saying, just so people can hear the differentiation. I understood when you were saying, yes, you can do these medicines, but it's not the natural way. And I know some people may say, well, it's from the earth, it is natural. But can you explain the difference between what you mean by the natural way versus doing the plant medicines?
So for the plant medicines, it is more natural, yes. But again, you are going outside of yourself. You are merging with the consciousness of another being, with a plant, to bring you there. And so if you were to say, I would like to speak with my guides, but I cannot because I do not have the substance, you see, it is a disadvantage. And so if you were to train and to communicate with your guides through your heart, mind, and spirit without a substance, and you were to get there, then it would be for the betterment. Then you could receive that awareness on a moment's notice, you see. These substances help soften the rigidity in the energy field, and they help flow into those spaces. So if you wanted to take 1 or 2 hits or smoke, for an hour, you see. So it's all up to the individual. But what we are saying that in ceremony they have been used. They do help you alter your consciousness, but it can be done another way. And if you were to take a very quick trip, you may find some healing there, but then again, you may not. And if you do find some healing there, it can help you lift your frequency. But the clarity of mind, body, spirit, and soul, health of the mind, body, spirit, and soul is most appropriate. And we do see with too much ingesting of even marijuana, the mind becomes cloudy. So that is not healthy for the mind, body, spirit, and soul. You see. So there are ways when, if used respectfully in certain periods of time, then it could be beneficial for the marijuana. But or for others may argue a press their point for the other substances. But we are saying it can also be done without the substances, you see.
Yes. And also, this is separate but similar. Can you speak to alcohol and what it does to the field, and your recommendations for alcohol and use, and especially those that are having a stressful time and trying to stay on a more spiritual path?
Yes, well, there is no judgment. We are sharing what is happening. Alcohol relaxes the body physically, and it expands the auric field, so you feel lighter. And if you are very stressed, it might be a good thing for you to have it as in a medicinal way, or coming at the end of the day to relax and to help you cope through the experiences. Some may go to meditation, some may go to alcohol. However, to have a crutch is not always the most appropriate. The same as we were speaking with the marijuana or other substances, it's the same. And additionally, some turn into another person. You see that personality switch. Alcohol is not a friend to them. So if it is done respectfully, in a way that is healthy, in that there is no damage done to the mind, body, spirit, or relationships, then that is to be done. In some countries, it's very, very common for the communities to have alcohol with every meal. In other countries, it's very common. They think it is very joyful to get wasted and drink too much where they black out and they are not themselves anymore. And that is not respecting the substance nor their physical body, you see. So we are not saying that it is wrong or that it must be done. It is an individual process, but we are saying that there needs to be respect and care for the mind, body, spirit, and soul. And in what way is this alcohol influencing and affecting the body, you see? Is it done in the ceremony? We speak of ceremony. Ceremony can be big or small. Ceremony can be one with their self, drinking and holding a frequency, drinking and processing and relaxing. Or it can be done in a group setting, you see. So ceremony is important, and you all have ceremony through your day-to-day actions of what do you call them, your habits. You do create ceremony through your habits, indeed.
Okay, so thank you. So I'm just bringing it back to dimensions. We took a long turn in another direction and bringing it.
Yes, where are we now, we are saying.
Yes. So we ended really talking about the seventh dimension and all the different aspects of that, which was, I think, fascinating, with souls and where they are and where they reside and things like this. So now, can you speak a little bit about the eighth dimension? And like I was sharing earlier, from a show I watched with a Syrian perspective, they were saying this is a dimension of the Taurus field where you can see all angles and perspectives in every direction. And this is also the dimension that the records, the Akashic records, are held in. And so I wanted to hear your opinion on that and the eighth dimension.
Yes, one moment, please. The eighth dimension is a high frequency. When you're in the eighth dimension, you definitely feel like you're out of body. You are floating in this space. This is a place where many would feel magical, heavenly in a sense, like there would be unicorns and fairies and love and relaxation. There's still a conscious awareness and an aspect linking them to the body, but they are in another place. And here you can see, but if you are a human, you would really need to lift out of the body and up a little bit higher, maybe the 9th or 10th, where you separate more from the form to see all aspects from a space, from an angle of looking up and looking down upon. However, in the 8th dimension as a human, when you lift your awareness there, you can ask questions and information comes quickly. You can get information from all angles of reality, indeed. From a space outside of the physical body, one moment. There's a lot of planning here. You can see all. You're at a higher vantage point. It's like looking through glass. You can look through the dimensions and you can see the shifting. And with your focus, your mind's eye or your intention, you weave through the information and you focus. You feel a little bit further away. It's a little bit cloudy. It's a little bit, there's like a white noise humming of what's going on Earth when you're in the 8th dimension. You're out a bit. And so to really get a signal and a communication with if it were that you had a team working close to the earth realm and working with a particular human or a community, you would have to go in, bring your awareness and dive in down through the frequencies if you were to think of it that way. It's a really interesting feeling because your energy, and you feel your energy pull and shift, and it feels slow and like jello. Think of jello. You're moving and you can, but it's weird feeling to come down with your energy into the lower frequencies, but you can do this. And then from that space, once you settle and you lighten, then it feels good. It's all about an adjustment, going through portals of time, portals of dimensions, and adjusting. So there are many different perspectives and perceptions when you are in the different dimensions. Are you tied to a physical form? Is that the space that you have been for quite some time and you are seeing it from a different angle, taking into consideration all of the life experiences and aspects of that realm that you're in? And so we do appreciate the aspect which you are sharing of the toric field and seeing, because it can be done, it can be held in the 8th dimension for that to happen. So we are sharing with you our personal, individual, if it were, like our consciousness, our experience in being in the 8th dimension.
And is that where the Akashic records typically resides?
The Akashic records, if you think of it as a frequency, the Akashic records are vibrating at a frequency of the 8th dimension, yes. If you are seeing it as a location, see, it depends upon the model in which the audience is relating to each of these expressions. If you are seeing it as further and further and further away from Earth, that you have to incarnate in, it would feel like a little discrepancy, because for many, they feel the Akashic records are in the earth. That's where they are focally stationed, in the physical property of the earth. So surrounded by the physical property in a dimension in that earth space. So yes, they are humming and vibrating at an 8th dimensional frequency.
I ask this because, well, for two reasons. So when I've done readings and I've asked, I've heard 9th and 10th. And then also I've heard, when me and Amy were talking, that it can fluctuate according to the topic. So
Yes.
can you expand on that?
It can fluctuate according to the topic and also the timeline. So Are you speaking of more futuristic experiences that would happen in higher dimensions, and then it would fluctuate? But for the most part, it would be very comforting for us to say, typically resonates and relaxes in the eighth, but you can push through and ask questions and access other dimensions and wisdom and consciousness that's held in these other dimensions. It would not make sense for information that is high in frequency to have to lower the consciousness of that conversation or that information and keep it trapped because it is alive. The records are alive. You cannot keep the higher frequencies down and trapped in the ones that are lower. They must be able to live and breathe and be in the frequencies that best match and suit the collective energy surrounding that experience of time.
And when I work within the records, for the most part, I'm working with people's guides that reside solely in the records. And there's different tiers, and there's lords of the Akashic records, there's masters, there's teachers, there's loved ones. And I'm wondering, are they all residing within that eighth dimensional field, or are maybe the lords of the Akashic records on a much higher vibration as they oversee the Akashic records?
For the most part, they are on the eighth together, but there are some beings, you mentioned the lords, that would have access to visit the higher frequencies and come back and rest within the eighth.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And also with the Akashic records, the council was speaking of how they have their own version of it, and it's like a heavenly records. Can you speak to the difference between our Akashic records with Earth and its connection with Earth versus the heavenly, I guess, higher dimensional frequency records that they're speaking of?
Yeah, the Akashic records holds the information for all of the experiences on the earth plane, mankind in human form, as well as the trees, Earth herself, the animal kingdom, and other realms that are living and breathing and functioning and being here in this earth experience, this container, we are calling it, this contained space of life. So there may be some similar information that is stored here, which is also stored in the Hall of Records. But the Hall of Records will share from a different perspective what has happened or what is happening, as if it was a little bit more distant away and not as heart-centered. Not that there isn't love, but when you're in the Akash, you are in it and you are connected emotionally. Mm-hmm. And as you are in these other spaces and places higher and away, you're invested at a level, but you're not in it. So it will have a different way in which the information will come through with the emotions. And the Hall of Records, every dimension has wisdom, knowledge, and information and access points. And we believe these Hall of Records are ones which were spoken of, these specific ones, to have an awareness of life off of Earth and outside of Earth from a different angle than perhaps what might be stored in the Akashic records. The Akashic records would feel more like an understanding in a more grounded way. And so you could think of it more of a more solid, warm, full, grounded way of experience and expression. And the Hall of Records is all-encompassing, yet not as emotionally connected. And there's wisdom and awareness of a broader picture of the intergalactic societies and how all the intergalactic dimensions and expressions of truth through the universes are working together. So yeah. It is just a different point of view.
Yeah, because I remember hearing from a teacher at some point that the records are only for Earth lives. And I mean, I was laughing because clearly, I mean, well, who am I and and you know what I do, and I've accessed different information that was galactic through the records. And so, because I think there's a misunderstanding that it's only of accounts on Earth, and maybe it's because I'm on Earth now that I can access them.
It
So,
is,
mhm,
yes. And as we were speaking of earlier about the quantum nature of the DNA, you bring into your DNA, which is now a part of the Earth experience because you were in a physical body, all that you were outside of the Earth experience, and it can be accessed because it is emerging now, you see.
mhm. And what dimensional frequency is the Hall of Records on?
It begins, we will say what feels appropriate to us around the 10th dimension on up. We
Okay.
were trying to feel into the 9th and it was really pushing it. It was not feeling quite accurate.
Okay. And so, speaking of the ninth dimension, I've heard the ninth dimension described as the void.
Okay. We were going to say the bliss.
Okay. Okay.
It is just being.
Hmm.
There is not much. You are just like a void, you would say, there. You are just there. You are just consciousness. You are just humming. And it is a space that you can resonate in for relaxation and for healing. And there isn't much need, necessity, or abilities here to really do a lot of thinking, conceptualizing, or planning in this way. That's where you would come down to the 8th, you see, as you get closer to the human realm. So yeah, we could see where one might call it a void, but it can be enjoyable, and the void might have a negative connotation to some, so we call it the bliss.
And what's the difference between the ninth dimension then and the first? Because there's a similar aspect of just,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, indeed. The 9th, you still have an awareness of who you are, and you still have the ability to pop out of it at will. The
Mm.
first, you've kind of lacked memories of where you came from,
Mm.
who you are, and what am I doing here, and how do I get out of here?
Mm-hmm.
They are both spaces of rest.
Okay. And what about the 10th dimension? Because I've heard with the 10th dimension, like in particular Arcturians and whatnot, it's more of a collective mind than an individual mind that the beings operate from. So I'm wondering, what about the 10th dimension?
Well, yes, you could say that in their construct and in their form, in their template. That's their reality. Um, and it would make sense that it would support that in the 10th dimension. But that is their experience in the 10th dimension, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So as you go higher and higher, there's an opportunity to merge with community. And even now in your now moment, many of you are telepathically communicating. So you see, it is different for all throughout the different experiences of awareness, the different frequencies, the different levels of truth and consciousness. But on a broader schedule, on a broader scene, the 10th dimension, there's a lot of movement from our perspective, from the star being's perspective, because you're getting closer to that void that you would call it. And through that void is where you would slip in, and there's a lot of clearing that will happen, and just a sense of amnesia for just a moment in time, releasing some of the qualities or memories that aren't needed for the lifetime. And then you would go through that like a washing or a bathing. And so you would go from the 10th with a lot of movement to peace and relaxation and cleansing, and then into the 8th, where you would see and know that you can plan. You can plan from intellectual space, but then as you get down further, it becomes more real, if you will call it. You become more in the simulation, and there's more energy of emotion around it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is how it is pertaining to coming into the earth life experience. At the 10th level, there is more activity because it is where many would be making their final plans before they go through the process. And so we would say that the process of incarnating onto earth would really and truly there's aspects to all levels of creation. But once you hit that ninth, that's where it's a preparation of the energy body to come in, to release and heal. And then from there, it would be more planning as far as life path, purpose, reason, and who you're going to incarnate with.
So would you say, because I've heard they're called the Council of Elders, that those life reviews happen within the 10th dimension, or are they outside of the Earth grid beyond the 12th?
That would be the 11th.
Okay.
Very close.
Okay. And I'm wondering, when I do energy healing on myself and with clients in particular cases that are, it could be heavier or something that I just know I need assistance with, I will bring myself or clients to an etheric temple. There's different ones that I'll use. Some are in space, some are, there's many different etheric healing temples that I've been to and used. Where are those residing within on the dimensional planes?
Many of them are back at the 7th.
Okay, the healing temples.
Yes. Some can, it depends on, as you see, there are some in the 11th. So if they are being taken up with their councils before, it depends, yes, before the life review, they're saying. It depends on the particular reason and the client.
Okay. Yes, because I've had an experience at one point where I was working and I knew that the seraphim were present and it was in space, which I didn't expect. And so, and which I also didn't know that they worked with beings, humans. And so, yeah, I'm just, because they've varied. The places that I've been to have varied. And so I was wondering where these etheric spaces lie dimensionally, but your answer makes sense. So what about the 12th dimension?
In the 12th dimension, it is as if there is civilization or community living, and they're aware of the consciousness on other areas of reality. So they're aware, but not all there are in the 12th dimension are even there to come into human body. It is more an intergalactic or heavenly expression of beings holding a frequency. Some can be just to be there having a life. Others are holding a frequency, but they're aware of the connection between the earth and the cosmos. And there's a way that they can leave the earth and just travel through portals. You would understand that. But just traveling through the 12th dimension, they can be off the planet Earth. And perhaps this is where some of that information that was coming through previously, where some were saying there were 12 dimensions around Earth, there are 16. But at that 12th, it's very easy to travel off and outside of keeping your awareness placed here on the planet Earth. It becomes more cosmic in nature at the 12th dimension, or more heavenly, some might call, because it is a realm.
Yes, and I heard at some point in an interview, people were saying, or she was saying that when people pass and they experience, if it occurs, the 12th dimension, sometimes it feels so heavenly to them that it feels like that's God, like that's bliss, but it's really the 12th dimension.
Yes, that would make sense. There's a lot of freedom, a lot of movement, a lot of beautiful light beings living in what one would consider heaven. So absolutely.
And with etheric retreats, in particular, like for the archangels, for on sacred sites, places like light cities, like in particular mountains and things like that on Earth, do they all vary as well in dimensional frequency?
Well, they can, but many are at the 16th dimension.
So, okay, so even like things like Telos versus like Archangel Michael's retreat in Banff.
Yeah, Telos we would consider to be something different. So we were understanding relaxation spaces for the angelic realm.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
so if they're tied to earth, they would be on the 16th dimension because it is the most higher vibration that is tied to earth, you see.
mhm,
For these other experiences, they all vary, they're all differing. Some are the 8th dimension, particularly around Telos. There are frequency realms around the 8th dimension to offer a space of relief, if you will call it. But it is all varying indeed.
And regarding sacred sites and different dimensions, I've heard like, okay, like the pyramids or Egypt or Machu Picchu or Lake Titicaca or wherever the sacred site is. I've heard some of them are still active and some of them are just off. Is that true? Like they're no longer active, I mean.
Depends on what period of time you flow through. They're still active from our perception because we are moving and weaving through time.
Hmm.
In your now moment, some are quiet, and we will call them quiet because they are not turned off. They are quiet.
Mm. Okay. And so for humans, when we were speaking of the 12 dimensions around Earth, I was referring to the grid that I heard we were in, like our matrix system of
Mm-hmm.
what we conceive to be reality. And so, but you're saying, no, it's not. It's the six, there's 16. So can you explain that and how the higher dimensions beyond the 12 are weaving into this matrix, this grid that we live
Yes. Yes, they just become a bit more intergalactic in nature. So the 13th and 14th can be way stations,
in?
stopover stations, where beings come through and they stay in these frequencies around the earth frequency, but in these other dimensions. Or you could say they stay in these dimensions around the earth frequency, however, but they stay in these spaces, and some will just be there and then go on their way. There's not so much activity in those places as far as realms around Earth, but there is activity in that star beings may come and go and stop over. And it is a higher space of reality. And there are some star beings who, when they stop over, will have conversations and hold council meetings and converse with one another.
And so, from my understanding, like we are in the 12th, and when, let's say, me and you are speaking, or me and the counselor are speaking, that you guys are out of the grid in a sense, and then you chose to come in to experience and help with humanity and with Amy and whatnot. But since it's 16, are you also within the grid? Like, did you all choose to be in this grid together at this time? Or are you kind of still out and you choose to come in?
Part of our station is in and part is out, if that makes sense. Just as you have a higher self, we have a higher self outside of the grid. An aspect of our consciousness is in the grid to be here
Mm-hmm.
with mankind and with our partner. And that is how all star beings, we assume, would choose to be for those whom are council bodies or guides for their partners on Earth, their human on Earth. So does that make sense? We're not sure if we understand.
Yes, it does. I wasn't sure, if you guys were, if it's like when people are communicating with their guides, if they're in the grid or they're not.
Both. Both. Yes, both.
Okay. Um, okay. Yeah, and I guess beyond the grid, I just wanted to ask with our chakra system, the human energy system, and the layers of the auric field, how we primarily work with seven. And I'm sorry, you may be hearing every 7 p.m. everybody's ringing bells in my neighborhood for the healthcare workers. So this is the, the noise that you're hearing. It's a very nice clearing. I always thank that for happening because I know that they're clearing energy as everyone's banging on the bells and the pots. So
Yes.
so that's happening right now. So I'm wondering with the chakra system and the layers of the auric field, we primarily work with the seven, but what is it like when you start to work with the more expansive layers of the auric field, going past, so the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th?
Well, there is not much to be done in relation to the human form that would even make sense for us to share, but there are small, minute changes that might happen within the template, within the structure, but it is mostly a flow of energy and consciousness. And as the human body and the human consciousness and their light body expands out through the dimensions, they will feel more connected with their team and spirit, with their higher self. They will feel more present and full in their awareness of who they are. And so it is more supportive of a sense of well-being, a sense of well-beingness. And it is very important. So we say, oh, it's not so much going on, but there is. But it is just that it is all one, a collection of vibrations of energies humming. And it doesn't, it wouldn't be that you could even go in really so much and make a lot of alterations, because this is a space or a byproduct of the human expression expanding out and filling up those frequencies. And some are connected very deeply with these frequencies and others are not. So it's an opportunity for more of expansion, which will provide in the future opportunity for more time travel with just the physical body, and working more with these, was it last time, the Tesseract, you were talking,
Yeah.
bringing in these sacred geometry and folding in at different angles. And so that happens when later on in the consciousness, when the human is fully expanded and vibrating and feeling those frequencies with their light. It is like a space for them to grow into. And so right now in our reality, there is not as much work or interaction being done in those dimensions of the human auric field, if that makes sense.
Yes. And I've heard of people meditating to a point where they raise their consciousness enough that they literally phase out of our reality. They disappear and then they come back physically in their form. So is this what's happening? They're raising their frequency very, very high and then, okay.
Yes, indeed. You would call it time traveling, so we call it that, yes.
Okay. Okay. And I was wondering, just as a question, what dimensional frequency ranges? Because I know it's not like this star system is this range, this star system is that. But what, like, or this, let's just say Earth is the 5th dimension. It's a range. It's not just one. So I was wondering, with certain star systems, what frequency ranges are they on? And in particular, like Sirius, Orion, the Pleiades, Arcturians, like Lyra, and then also the galaxy Andromeda, because those are the ones that are very, very prevalent in most people's fields, and most star seeds are on Earth are from those neighboring stars.
Indeed. Well, the frequency can be that similar to Earth, so it can be any frequency, and it would be at a given time. And if we were to come down into your moment of time, we could share with you where all of these are. We don't, and we will if you prefer. However, we would like to stress that it really wouldn't be a constant. It wouldn't make sense, because beings are coming from the future. And so they can come from any space in the future where their galaxy was at a different frequency, you see. So it is left open to interpretation and to very specific situations. So if we were to tell you right now that Andromeda is functioning, let's fill into it, a time and space, the 7th frequency, 7th level of creation. Okay, that's wonderful. But you may meet some being, and it might be that you are a being from Andromeda who is advanced to the 12th frequency. And here you are back now, time traveling, and now you are in the human form on another planet, you see. So it's not so much a question that really fits the model for time with the human understanding of time, because most of us are coming from the future and the frequency is different there.
So can you speak to this? I guess will be the last question. I have many more, but I feel like I know that this is hitting a time limit. So this will be like one of the last questions, for Amy's sake, also, just because we've been doing this for a long time. So what would the future of Earth look like? And I know there's many possibilities and probabilities, but with future humans, I'm going to assume they're going to be a blend of many hybrids of many different systems. What would that look like, and what dimensional frequency would we be operating on collectively? I mean, and so the future is everywhere. So maybe, I don't know, in 100 years, and then in 500 years or something, whatever is coming to you guys.
Well, you will still be in the fifth dimension in 100 years. But as we look out into the future, very far into the future, there will be a really beautiful space in time where it will be the eighth dimension blending into the ninth, which you understand was like peace and just beingness. So, and there will be many different body types and prototypes that will be more made of light and have the different variations of structure and form. But this is when we feel that you will be intermingling with other beings from off the planet, and Earth will be more of an open space at this point. So, but yes, so for many generations to come, you are still blending and flowing through to entering and entertaining the fifth level of creation, the 5D reality, and then you will, as a society and community on Earth, hold that space for quite some time. It could be for 1,000 years before mankind is ready to advance to the next level of evolution.
Okay, yeah, that I was wondering how many years. And I guess just one last question I have amongst that is around what dimensional frequency, because I heard it was around the fifth, were the Lemurians in that civilization?
When they left,
Yes. Oh,
yes,
yes.
yes, what did they reach? Okay. Hold on, we're just feeling through time. They were in that fourth dimension for quite some time. It's almost one of their signatures because it is so strong. But we know that they advanced past it, so we are feeling to that. How far did they advance? One moment. Well, they're in the seventh now. So they're in the seventh. The consciousness of the Lemurians are in the seventh dimensional frequency in your now moment. But it took a lot to get there. A lot of time in the fourth, and many memories out of the fifth, and not so many memories of the sixth, but they are entering into the seventh at this moment of your time.
And you're saying they left, but aren't they still residing on Earth through crystals and yes?
So we are saying, based upon what traditional society would say for civilizations, they have transitioned is all. They've left the third and the fourth, and this is where they are now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I have many more questions about the sun and all these other things that I feel like we can take that for another episode. But this was amazing. So thank you so much for all of your answerings and questions and everything that you've expanded upon.
Yes, thank you so very much for allowing us this opportunity to be here. And we are saying our partner, she's ready to rest because there were different frequencies coming in. A bit of the inner earth came through today, and some of the angelic realms, and even different members from the Council of Light were here, and all of your audience will understand and know as they feel the shifting in vibration. Some may understand and know as they recognize that the voice has shifted a bit in our conversation today. So these were all aspects, qualities, and propensities from the Council of Light, our whole entire beingness. And as we did share with you at the beginning, we had a broad, beautiful group with us here, enjoying all of the entertainment. You were being so silly, getting ready and started, but we come from a space of joy and we love to laugh. And so we understand that you are feeling so much of that. So thank you so very, very much, dear ones. And we will see you all again very, very soon. We are preparing now to leave the physical body, and it will take a moment for our partner to come back in. So thank you very much. One moment, please. Oh, okay, hold on. Just regulating my energy for a second.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, back. Oh, goodness. Oh, I don't know if my other backup, it didn't record.
That's okay. I mean, we have everything here.
Okay, beautiful.
Everything.
Side note, we have a backup.
Yeah, I was making sure too. I was like, because I was seeing the recording. I know we started a little bit after the recording on my audio, and so it's like, okay, the 2-hour mark, that's the mark. So
yeah. Let me just turn this other device. It went to the screen saying my battery was low, and it just paused. So okay, which is weird because I thought that I had plugged it in, but I must have forgotten. So hi everybody.
Yeah, I'm just laughing because for those of you watching, we probably started this episode 10 times. We did about 10 or 11 different takes, and every time, the last few, like 4 or 5, I knew it wasn't for me, but I like couldn't even talk because I would start to talk and I'd feel all this laughter coming up, like all this, like, and I knew it wasn't mine. I was like, oh my God, they're dying up there, like looking at us like, oh my God, these people. And so to hear that we gathered a crowd and they were all watching, I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was funny, but it was all like divine timing too, because we got started a little bit later, which was fine because I'm like, no, my energy is telling me it's not time. I'm not ready. Like, just, we needed to work through some of our daily chores or whatever, to get ready. And then my pets were having their own little thing, wanting to be in the video. And so we had to take care of all that. So yeah, we were receiving all these interruptions, and every time we were laughing, and I told Kat, I was like, I'm so glad we are here dedicated to tuning in together, because I would have just given up already. I'd been like, well, and in that process, all these extra beings were coming around, and so I could feel them. And I think it was maybe like 2 times before where we actually said, okay, we're going and filming. They'd already, like, my team had already started to come in around my crown, and the energy was shifting, and I could feel everybody. So it was just so funny. And I thought that was great. I was hearing them say, they were like calling us out.
Yeah. Because I mean, at some point, like, we were both getting frustrated just with the process, and then I would be frustrated and I start reading, and I just can't stop the feeling of laughter. I could literally feel it coming up, and I'm like, this is this is ridiculous, but it's good. It was great. That person at the end, they sounded like you. It sounded a lot like you.
It's because my body was getting tired.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was them, but it was more like telepathic. They were still in, and you could see that I had to leave, but they were slowly fading. So then the voice isn't as strong, like their voice, but it was them. Yeah. So I was just getting tired. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, we covered a lot. We talked about things that I did not plan at all. And it was beautiful to have the angels come in.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting. I thought maybe Metatron, because I could feel him from around. He came in earlier today, but then when they opened it up and they're like, "This is my," when I could feel it, I was like, "This isn't Metatron." Then you asked, and they were like, "It's Michael with a little bit of Metatron," but it was mostly Michael. So that was really cool. I think that was my first time letting him come through in this way, at least on recording, I think. So that was neat.
Yeah, it felt very different to me too, but very loving. His message was very loving. So it was really beautiful. And I know we're recording, but it's an option, depending on how we feel about some of the things that we talked about, to keep it in or take it out. Um,
Yeah, I was just thinking that, and you said this. So,
yeah.
um,
So we can wait and think about that, because some of the topics, in particular, that one
yeah,
topic
yeah.
is the one I'm not sure about. But
Well, perhaps if people, I mean, I just like to stay away from promoting things that are energetically charged, just to get views, right? And like invite drama around. But I think if somebody's here and they've listened that far into the conversation, that they're going to be at a space where it'll be either new information, or it will confirm some things for them, or maybe they won't resonate at all, and that's fine, because like they were saying, all that does is open an opportunity for you to go back into redefining your truth. So maybe we leave it in.
it's interesting too, because I know that we're talking about all these different concepts, but at the same time, there is part of, I think, what we're doing here that's relaying truth and unearthing truth that's been hidden. And me and you even stayed away from some of the things we were going to talk about, but then like Metatron will bring it in, and so then we're like, well, I guess this is what we need to talk about. And so so part of me is, with that conversation in particular, wondering, yeah, like if that's just part of what we're doing, because same as you, it's not, there's no part of this that is for clickbait or drama. It's really just to unearth the truth that's been hidden, because it's detrimental for people to keep their eyes closed to this at some point, and especially now. And
Yeah.
so that's where I come from when I ask the questions. Part of me, and there's still a little tinge of like we've got to get this out there, because I'm like, I can't believe that this is all still hidden information, and it's hurting people. It's doing more harm than good to keep it
Right.
suppressed. So
Right.
that's where I come from with some of the questionings that came up, and the conversation really went a different direction at some point. So
Yeah, it was a really fun topic. I mean, the whole conversation today, because what was the topic? Like, there really wasn't one. We would weave in and out.
mhm.
But yeah, hey, that's what we're we're here for.
Yeah, I mean, well, the goal was just to go through the dimensions, and get through that, and then I think that took us on the ride, and that's where we were. And
Everything else is a bonus.
yeah. Yeah. So if you watched this far, 2 hours in, thank you very much. We do truly, truly appreciate it. And I'm sure many questions have came up in just from this episode alone. So again, if you have questions that you'd like the council to answer, it's our email is the counciloflightquestions@gmail.com. And so you can submit them all there, and we'll review them for future episodes.
Yes, yes. So thanks, everybody. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate your love and support, and we're so happy to share the information, and I'm so happy to be able to let them come through and speak with us all. So thanks, and have a great day.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to our interview series, Conversations with the Council of Light. We are very much looking forward to bringing you many more to come. You can find Amy online at amysikarskie.com, spiritschoolmagic.com, and on Instagram at amysikarskie. And you can find the Council of Light on Instagram at @starseeded_ascensions. You can find me online at catfowler.com and on Instagram at catfowler, as well as check out the Council of Light's original interview on the Soul Awakening podcast, which sparked the idea for this whole series. So we wish you a beautiful day filled with love, light, and peace, and we look forward to seeing you on the next show.